before we get started, I'm going to share a little bit of information about Camden National Bank. It's the largest publicly held trading company in northern New England, with $6 billion in assets and 600 employees. There are 57 banking centers, 66 ATMs, and they were rated one of the best performing banks by S&P Global. And we're going to be talking about modernization and size. And I think one really thing that is important to know is that when they started their modernization initiative 6 years ago, they started with 2 data professionals. So with that, I will let Josh introduce himself. Josh, can you tell us about yourself and more about where you work and started your modernization initiative?
Absolutely. So Josh Nash, I'm the Director of Technology, and I oversee standard technology operations, business intelligence, and loan operations, which is a new addition to the mix. And when you said 2 data professionals, got a 1 washed up data professional and then a real one. In the early days, I had to kind of play double duty, and it's been a long time since I had been in the mix. So it just goes to show, if you get the right platform, you need somebody that can evangelize, and you need somebody that can actually do a lot of the hands-on keyboard work. So where we started 6 years ago, we realized from my past that we needed a real enterprise data solution. And for years, we've done what a lot of us do. We dabble with SQL Server and Oracle and pull files off the core and try to provide insights. Normally, that's not really insights. It's you're providing reporting, and that's not enough really to push things ahead. And we were fortunate enough in the early days to find a partner, now Pastorell, and started discussing what the solution for the future is. And we had 3 or 4 different options really, and I had a really smart gentleman that was working for me in the short term. And we made the correct choice to go with, it all started with where are we going to put our data? And we went with Snowflake. Right now that looks like a genius selection. My boss tells me often that it's like either you're really smart or you're really lucky. And I think it's hopefully a little bit smart, but there's a lot of luck in there. We were the first Snowflake customer, and that looks really in Maine, and that looks really great right now. When we're talking to folks, it's really set us up for success. What I would say is making the decision to move forward on this, you can never start too soon. The biggest obstacle that we had was convincing folks to go to a platform that was really more on the cutting edge. As bankers, like cutting edge, we like to kind of wait back. Hopefully somebody works out all the kinks and we have no risk and move forward. That doesn't move the business forward. So we had to really push the reason, why do we go with a solution that is new, extremely flexible? What do you have for a big use case? What do you have for proof? And why at the time was Atlas, which is now Pastorell, why are we working with them? I know they're here in Maine, but what are their credentials? I think 6 years later, we made the right choice. So I'll go more into some of the stats as we look at the journey.
So did you have top-down support when you guys started?
We had top-down support from the extent that we knew it was necessary. I don't know if the buy-in was there on the type of solution. We looked at modern architecture versus buying a bolt-on solution from your core vendor, basically. And I've talked to other people who have been in the same boat. At the time, management wanted to know, why wouldn't we go with core? It's what we have, it's what we know. They're going to provide a dashboard with all the key metrics you'll need. That is so short-sighted that it'll be perfect on day 1, and 6 months later, you're going to say, all right, now we need to get a real solution, because all you're providing is reports and a dashboard that provides no insight to move your business forward. So we fought that really hard, and fortunately for us, we were able to convince our executive team at the time that was the solution we were going to pay for. So we had the support, but then the toughest part is it's not the solution, it's getting everybody on board to understand that an analytics team is not there to tell you 3 times a week how many checking accounts you have. And so that's very basic. And we had to get past the simple questions and start working towards what are you looking for? So don't come to me with a simple question. what is your end goal? We'll help you get there. We'll work you through the iterations of what the data will provide and how we can move the business forward with much more reporting. And we've been very fortunate with a couple of additions through the years. My current executive fully supports this approach, comes from a bigger bank background, and has been very impressed by the rocket architecture that we have, blown away by what it can do, and he's fully supportive. We have a new CEO that really is tech forward and has been pushing us along in that direction. So I think your biggest obstacle early on is going to be, why are we going to do something that is more on the cutting edge? Why are we going to take time to ingest and build when we could just use a dashboarding system from our core vendor, and then getting the business lines to understand the value that it provides? Day one, even day 365, you're still going to be struggling to see what you can really do. There's going to be glimpses. For us, it was in the compliance space. There was an ask that would have taken probably 10 analysts and several months to be able to process. We ingested a data set that we had from the core that we were kind of setting off on the side in case we needed it. We were able to ingest it and give them and with one analyst on the BI set and give them an answer in about a week. So we estimated we saved $50,000 to $60,000. And that was a moment when the executives were thinking, maybe there is something to the snowflake thing, the whole approach to what we're doing. So that was kind of the aha moment. But it still took a while for people to start thinking about questions properly. And I think that's really the responsibility, whatever you call it. We call our team Beacon. When we first came up with that, there's an acronym. I don't remember what it is. It's just Beacon. And half the company calls us Bacon, but we've been bringing home the bacon, and I think that's why people have caught on and are definitely pushing for it. But it's our job to ask questions, and when they come and say, I want X, it's not, well, where are you going? What are you ultimately trying to get to? And these tools and this tool set allows us to be able to spend time to kind of working through that process, because we're not spending days and weeks to ingest the data sets. We had a use case just yesterday where one of the executives wanted to pull in some additional data. And I went to my team and, yeah, we can do that in about an hour. A completely new data set, have it normalized, ready to go. And I think the key there is you never share that it's an hour. I mean, you can say, oh, we can get that to you in a day to give us some flexibility, but that's the strength of moving to this type of architecture versus what we've historically worked with.
So you mentioned you were the first Snowflake customer in Maine, and at this point, does anybody in the room not know who Snowflake is? It's kind of a household name, especially if you're looking at making the transition to the cloud. But at the time, it wasn't at all. So can you tell us about what drew you to Snowflake and how you chose other pieces in your data set?
Sure, we were looking. My approach is long term. Like we need to be able, if we're going to compete, we can't just make a decision that's going to be the easy one. So we wanted something that gave us the ability to be agile, and I could bring in people and get them trained quickly, and then we could turn around requests rapidly. And so early on, really liked the idea of what Snowflake could do, the way it not only secured but backed up our data. If we wanted to look at other slices, it was very easy for us to get into it to turn around. So my first analyst was a big proponent, big fan of it. We started to kind of look at how it would integrate with some of the other products that we have, and really felt it was a no-brainer because we're not tiny, but we're not big, and we don't have the dollars to spend that some of the larger organizations would. So my approach is we have to be agile, and if we can be agile, we can kind of beat people to the punch. That's exactly what Snowflake gave to us. So that was kind of the key there. And we look at the rest of the tech stack. I think we wanted something. We had. I can't speak highly enough about Pat's team and what they were able to help us with. It was we're going to build Snowflake. We want to bring in big talent platform to be able to integrate and work together. And then today we use Tableau, but really it's the Snowflake is number one, and then Talent is number two, and then whatever visualization you want on the other end, I think can be effective. So we just wanted something that would work from ingestion and handling the data to having a strong ETL tool that was not only flexible in the sense of bringing in any sources we wanted, but we could then, from a data governance perspective, manage the entire life cycle of the data and get it up to folks. Because honestly, early on, you're still trying to get people to move away from an Excel spreadsheet. How would you like this presented? It's always going to be Excel. You have to kind of train it. The dashboard would be nicer. It's always available. You get that refresh. You're not taking up tons of storage by having spreadsheets with customer data just sitting out there. So I think it's key that you get to that visualization platform, but it's really whatever works for you.
So you spoke a little bit about that first use case, that was the aha moment, but how do you go about choosing use cases and measuring success?
So in the early days, we were out trying to get people to come in. So we wanted people to give us some ideas on how we can help them. And that meant basically a Beacon Roadshow. We went up to every executive, tried to tell them what we did, why it was important, and some of them went with it, and it may not have always been the perfect use case, but we wanted to get them interested, and we wanted to show them results, and then that was helpful. Now fast forward 5-6 years, now we have an enormously large queue, and we have to prioritize what comes through. So what we do today is retail is our biggest consumer, followed by our RPA group, which does the automation work. So two totally different charges, two totally different data sets. Those are our two biggest consumers. So I meet with them weekly, so we meet with their executives and somebody from my team, and we look at their stack of items in the queue, we measure progress, and we allow them to kind of move those up and down within their queue. Then we overall look at what's the prize. We ask them, what's the value? So if we deliver this to you, what are you going to get out of it? Is it dollars? Is it time saved? Is it a strategic priority? So they have to come to the table with some skin in the game. And that's how we end up prioritizing items. It's totally different from we look at early days. We're fighting to get something out the door that week. I think this last quarter we moved up to every business day we're delivering over 1.5 analytics deliverables every single day. So we're able to churn out a lot, but there's still a backlog that we have to work through. So it's important to assign a value so that we're not just spitting out something that nobody's ever going to use.
Were there any other initial use cases that had a lot of traction?
Yes, I think that it was tough in the early days. It was I want a KPI dashboard, but they didn't really know what they wanted to measure, how it was going to impact. So we were able to deliver that. But I would say fast forward from that initial dashboard to today, we have a really, really proud of the work the team has done. It's a retail, they call it their scorecard. So they can go in every morning, look at where they are to a goal, the quarter for the year. It has sliders, you can pick your branch, it has referrals, it has your loans. This is like, it's updated on a daily basis so they know where they are, what their goals are, how to meet it. So this is like a huge step forward. All developed in-house, all developed on purely Snowflake, Tableau, and Talent. It is the rocket architecture. And if you'd asked 6 years ago, I think any of our executives would have loved to have had it. But could we pull it off? Not with the old products. And there's no dashboard you can get from our core that could provide this stuff with insight. So it's kind of the icing on the cake. We just delivered the latest version early this year. But I think that's probably one of the things that we described.
So we've talked a little bit about some successes, but what were some of the initial obstacles and how did you overcome those?
So people are, you hear it all in technology, so people are difficult. And you have to get the right mix to be successful. So I think early on it's getting the right core culture, and when you look at the team, how you build that up. Sometimes really smart people, they clash. So you've got to get support people, you've got to get innovative people. So internally, that was what we had to deal with. But I'd say from outside of our business intelligence team, the biggest thing is getting people on board and understand the value of looking at bigger than traditional reports. And that was the biggest obstacle that we had to overcome. And there were times when we actually considered folding the program because we couldn't get people to understand the value that this could bring. And there was obviously dollar commitment. How is this going to not only pay for itself, but what is this really doing to push the business forward? And that's really when we kind of upped the roadshow. We tried to break down what we did by basic publishing all the way up to predictive analytics. We have our own little Maslow's hierarchy of data and the idea of how do you get to enlightenment, and that's what we had to show people. This is the prize if you want to put in the time and commitment. And I think that helped kind of turn things around. But it's the technology is fantastic. It's easy. Getting people to understand it, to push forward it, that's hard. And I think that's where it's going to be your biggest obstacle every time. But I think you can see with the use case, it's worth it. And what I always tell people is, this isn't going to be magical in the first month or two, and until you can get the people aligned, technology will come really quickly. So it's going to take a few years. And where we're at now, it's incredible, and we just keep increasing our velocity. We haven't reached our max yet, and I'll go more into the people in a little bit, but you've got to start. You've got to have those tough battles to get kind of the other side of it.
Is there a unifying friction point when you're trying to convince someone to adopt this new methodology, whether it's, we've had to go through so many of these new technologies, or I really just want to use Excel as something on.
Yeah, everybody has a lot on their plate, so it's just give me the Excel data and I'll look at it. It's simply you don't have the skill set, and that's a tough conversation as well. Telling people you don't have the skill set to make sure that the decision you're making via spreadsheet is going to be something that uses this for. That's why we have data governance. That's why we have this built-out structure that makes it extremely easy for the user. So I think it comes with delivering in a timely manner and then showing the results. One of the big breakthroughs for us last year was he came and said, go crazy. Think of a lead list that you would love to have that you don't know if it's possible for us to build. So they gave us 5 lead lists, and within 2 weeks we had all the data. And one was a very, in fact, your team helped with this one. This was not an easy, we tried to use the registry of deeds, and if you ever looked at that, they're all different. So we actually had them go out, scrape registry of deeds sites, pull in data. It was a major win. But we get to the other side of it, well, let me take a step back. So there are 5 of them. My chief data analyst, he built a model that we identify the customers and we just do a regular search through our core system, fuzzy search on our core system, and anything that gets booked to the core after the launch date, or where it would say it was due to the lead list. And it also integrates with our CRM system, so we can say, did you call that customer? Did you have a meeting with that customer? We were able to actually build this dashboard that said, if you use this lead list and you make a call, you'll have X% success rate, or these are the dollars that went. Or if you make a call, this is the success rate. So we got through this. 4 of them, the easy ones, the success rate was off the charts. Like, this is what, when you look at the numbers that brought in all deposits last year, this is what we did. And that registry of deeds, which took all that work, was not particularly helpful. But I still think it was worthwhile because we pulled something off that we didn't know if we could do. And, you know, that had been successful. We could go back and run it again. The key there is we tried it, and because we can score it, you can say this model was successful. Let's run it again. Or this one is never run that one again. You know, stay away from it. And I think that's the key with tools like this. That not only can you produce the data, you can see how well it works, and then you're able to go back and make subtle tweaks to improve the performance.
So that's a good process of working, and that's the rest just works.
Special thanks, Josh.
So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the wins that we all have had at Camden National Bank. That really kind of runs the gamut between data democratization, data governance, business growth, operational efficiency, and scale data architecture. This is all in your guide too, but when you look at this, is there a unifying thread when you look at these statistics? What are you most proud of?
So we got a couple of thoughts here. I think the first one is really the underlying architecture. When we look at the power of Data Rocket, which you've got Snowflake and Talent. We now have 85% of the data that we run through our analytics. It's comes through that system. 85%, all the data sources, everything has been ingested. Our goal is to get to 95% by the end of the year, because there's always that last 5% that's just a bear to get through. And when did we do this? It was just early this year, right?
It was, yeah.
So I was just looking from a data governance perspective. So we, at that point, we reclaimed 30. So just in the last month, it's now over 70 terabytes of data, which we've been able to clean up.
Wow.
Which, I mean, you talk about, you know, reinvestment. Those are real dollars. I guess I'll go to operational efficiency. So, you know, it's critical. If you look at it, it's hard to get good people. It's really hard to get good, smart people to do repetitive tasks because they get bored, and humans make mistakes, and nobody wants to continually type the same keys over and over again. So we started a robotics program. Say robotics, but it's, you know, robotics process automation years back. It's completely based upon the data that comes from Snowflake and in our architecture. So with that, we've been able to the mix of that and our business intelligence team, we've basically freed up 7 people. And I think the key element there is, doesn't mean we've gotten rid of them, we've been able to repurpose them. So we paid for 1 additional FTE on my team. We now have 5 people, so the other 4 we've all self-funded, programmed self-funded. So we've been able to free up resources and move people around. Now the key there is you can't move anybody around. I mean, that would be awesome if you could stick anybody in there. The tool's easy, but it's not quite that easy. So what we've done is we use the same forward-looking approach when we build the technology team level. So we bring people in on the help desk, we train them, we evaluate their talent, and then we start to get them on a path to where they can be successful elsewhere. And I think this is the most rewarding part of my job is we bring people in and, you know, they've got a job, and a lot of them within a couple of years have a career. What better places there to work than in analytics in 2024? So we've taken 4 people and moved them into the BI space from traditional technology. I had one gentleman that came over from another operational area, and we haven't had to backfill. So that's the power of rocket architecture of Snowflake, of Talent. If you want a bigger team, you create it and self-fund it. So I think that's the thing I'm probably most proud of. But it's also really in an era of importance on deposits. It's also tough to be really difficult. Your retail can meet their goal. We know the salespeople have to go up. They're the ones that are working in the trenches, but we can provide them insight to help them be successful and measure that. It goes a long way.
What do you look for when you're bringing team members in from within? What are some key characteristics that you look at as you're growing the team?
We need problem solvers, people that are driven, and then people that can work together. We have a really good group of selfless people that are always looking to support each other. It can be a tough mix with technology people because they want to do it their way. So you have to get the right mix of people. And sometimes it's more of may not be where they are when they come in the door, but if they've got the right skill set, we can train them. And that's what we've been able to do. And I will go back. We've been a little lucky to get some of those, but it's worked out well for us. And I'd say the other thing that's important is this is an innovative space. So if you have people that aren't effective, you get them on quickly. So it hasn't been all hits. We brought people in and it didn't work out. Doesn't mean you have to get rid of them, but you get them on. This is moving quickly, and if it's not the right fit for them, you also have to move on to people that will fit. So I don't want to make it sound like you can put anybody in that space. We've been very fortunate, but we've also had to shift people along.
When you look to the future, from where you are now, what are some of the biggest challenges you see, and some of the biggest opportunities?
So the challenges are completely different. So in the early days, I think of the Beacon team as almost a startup. Early days, we were fighting just to survive. Like, is this going to be something that's sustainable, or are they going to pull the plug on it because there's a large investment? But is it going to be useful? And now we're at a point where we produce a lot, but we have a hard time keeping up with the requests. So I think on your journey, you're going to see a lot of obstacles, and it's just taking them one at a time to see what's going to pop up next. So, it's hard to say that we have obstacles right now because it's going extremely well. Our velocity continues to increase. But managing that cycle is tough. It's a lot of stress on people, and people still, they want more and more and more. That's our obstacle that we're dealing with, but it's a really good obstacle. Opportunity. So I had a goal from 2022 to 2023 to increase our output by 10%. By the end of the year, we'd increased output 150% over the previous year. So horrible estimating on my part. I was way off. My team actually told me that once we finished the rocket architecture, that our output would increase exponentially. It's impossible. We still haven't plateaued. So even at the end of the year, we had 150% increase, and then our quarter one over quarter four was a 42% increase. So it just continues to. Our people get better. We get more data in the architecture, and we're able to turn things around much quicker. So. Yeah, it sounds like made up numbers, but they are real. I can guarantee you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're looking at for AI and
I don't know if I want to give away anything.
Okay. Selfish question here. So you talked a little bit about Data Rocket, which is our Passerell's acceleration architecture that's built on clip talent data management. Snowflake. Can you tell everybody a little bit more about how Passerelle has helped Camden National Bank on the journey, and any advice for leaders as they're looking forward to adopting these?
Yeah, we've Passerelle's been in the trenches with us since the beginning, and like I said, it was tough early on, and we had to trust what they were doing, and we have a gentleman that's basically embedded with our team, and he is just like one of our teammates. So that is a level of trust that has to be earned, and I think the reason why the relationship has worked so well is because Passerelle has a culture that is strong, it's supportive, they take care of the people, and they match up with the culture that Camden National has, and I think it's tough to beat a relationship like that. So they're critical to what we do, and they've been there since the beginning. There are times we have to call up Pat that we need a couple of resources. We've got something we need to we need to burst the resources that we have on our team, and they've always been able to pull people in, help us kind of get through those times, and then we're able to move on, or like bring ideas that we're looking at. And of course, Pat does a really nice job of kind of always trying to move the business forward. So he's usually on it, and we've been able to work on some different use cases and trying new things. So it's important to have somebody as a partner they can trust, has good culture, takes care of their people, and then the biggest one is constantly evolving. We don't want to sit still. We want to grow. We want to find the next best solution, and Astral is the same thing. So it's been a great partnership.
And so when you started for the first few years of talent and Snowflake, you did it on your own for a couple of years, and then you brought in the data blockchain architecture. Can you describe kind of the difference between those two methodologies?
I think the biggest difference is the speed, because you're building out, you have an environment, a model where, especially in the reporting structure, you don't have to go through all of the development. And some of my developers get frustrated because, well, I want to do the hardcore development. I don't have time for you to do the hardcore development. I want you to leverage the tool. And I think our analysts love it the most because they're able to push things through extremely quickly. So I think we had all of the pieces in place, but as you can see, the increase from pre-rocket to post-rocket, it makes a huge difference. And then I think we're fortunate to have a great partner. We now have, my boss is extremely supportive and sees the importance of what we do, and we have a CEO that is excited about the technology of a smaller bank, especially coming from a larger bank space. Like, we're able to do things and we're able to do it quickly. Maybe in the next use case I can give you something that's too fresh I can't share.
So one more question, and then we'll open it up to questions from everybody here. Looking back, 6 years ago, if you could tell Josh 6 years ago something from where you're sitting today, what would you do?
You can never start too early. Like, I know I've talked to a lot of people and said, yeah, I think so, this sounds good, maybe we'll dabble, we'll start playing. You've got to get the architecture built, you've got to press forward on it. Every day that you go at it slowly, you're missing out. And that would be, so I would say that's what I'm most proud of, is we pushed hard. And then the other thing is start getting people on board. I can't stress enough how important it is to evangelize what you're trying to do. You can have good people, but even if you have the best team of folks building out the analytics, if you don't work with your business partners and get them to understand the value that it brings and bring them into the mix, it's never going to be successful. So if you're here from the business line, it's something you're going to want, and you can figure out how to make that mix work, but you can't just do it with technology. You've got to bring your business partners along to get them to understand why they can. And I know it's going to be, it's kind of a bad word for tech folks, but you have to be a salesperson. You have to sell this program. You have to get them to understand the value.
So many questions?
I have a question on so you have 140 Tableau or creators, like people creating dashboards, or are they just viewers of dashboards?
Just viewers. It's a much smaller group that's creating.
So are you having actual self-service where business units are developing their own dashboards as well, or you centralize that?
It's centralized.
Okay. Because that's what I was more curious about, the data governance, that time you create the data dictionary and have that so people could actually self-service, but it sounds like you can maintain that in that group.
So we have a small group of folks that are self-serving, so we build data marks based upon them. What we'll do is we'll sit with the business line, identify what the right fields are, give them a friendly name, and we create the data dictionary. And those people that have gone through and show that they can pull the data correctly, we do allow them access to query their data marks. So we do a little bit of that, but I wish we had more. But it's tough to get. One, you got to train people, and then two, you got to get the business line to give them up long enough to make it easy to use. So the data mark concept has been extremely successful, and we have we have 7 now that are built out for purposes, whether it's for like our digital users, our retail users. But that allows us to do the self-serve. We don't always have the consumers that are trained to do it.
Vicki?
Josh, did you identify data stewards early? And if so, what did you look for to be them a steward?
Not early enough. We started with looking at the analytics, and then we built at the same time build a rudimentary data governance program that picked up steam a few years back. That's when we really started to fold with data stewards. So we picked them by business line, and we took the experts there. And we have annual a program, so we look at what are we going to attack this year, and then we also have quarterly education sessions. So we bring them in, and I have a gentleman on my team that actually does the education every quarter to try to bring them along. Lucas.
I really like the idea of the peak approach at the beginning. Wondering, how do you segment out what you're going to showcase in each line of business? Do you have any tidbits from the success of that?
We did 2 things. We had like you said, the kind of hierarchy, just to get them an understanding of what it is. Because a lot of times, people, they know what they know, and they just want my least favorite thing to hear is, I just need more data. I can give you a lot of data, but you're gonna drown. So we wanted to break it down into kind of bite-sized pieces of how they can use it. We also created a structure on where they can find the data today. If you want data, we have a platform system. You can go look up a customer, find out anything you want. That's a big difference than I want to predict what's the next best product for this customer. It's a completely different end of the spectrum. So that's what we focused on, and then we gave them homework to figure out if you could have any data, answer any question, what would it be, and then we went back and then tried to polish that into a more refined request. It was mildly successful. It's something you have to build on.
Josh, do you have a cross-functional team that helps you prioritize the requests that come in, or do you manage that yourself and meet individually with the business line stakeholders?
So it's a mix. We do meet with we keep refining our process. We actually use, we have an intake form. We use Jira, and they put in their request. It automatically creates a queue, and then we're able to kind of slide the cards around and assign them. We meet with retail, our RPA group, commercial we'll meet with weekly. Some of the others are monthly, others are quarterly. And then what we'll do is work through their prioritization. And then I work with my executive to work on where do we prioritize it overall. And he's great because he gives me the freedom to kind of maneuver that. And we work in 2-week sprints, and then what we do with my team is we'll meet once a week to work on what we have, what's done, but how do we want to flip the queue. So it's a mix of all of that, but it is critical when you're looking at it. You've got to have their intake, strategic priorities, and then try to manipulate it, but it definitely pays dividends being very, very organized.
I guess a follow-up question then, how far are you going with regulatory reporting for the organization, and how far have you been able to get with your accounting and finance team and being able to support them, or is there a shadow reporting analytics team within accounting and finance as well?
That was a really important part of our data governance program, so we've locked down other traditional queries, and anything it actually has a regular review process. Those have to get reviewed. We've automated a ton of the finance reporting, so I think they're believers, and then if anything complex comes through, I mean, this definitely didn't happen overnight, but they also push the work to us. And, I think the risk group, which has the compliance and regulatory data, there's a lot of their requests come through. Risk is though, they always want to say that everything's for an audit, so it's got to go to the top of the queue. Yeah.
Josh, how long was that journey that you took to get to get it over? When did you start? And again, the socialization or the evangelization, I think you used it. Was there a group of you that said, hey, you know, we talked about this, we need this, it's gonna have valuation in all these areas? I mean, what was that like?
So I've been pushing for something like this for years. Until Snowflake came along, I don't know if there's really something that would have fit the bill. So we've been pushing. We had an idea to move forward to get approval probably within 6 months, and then we were off. But it was probably 2 years before, maybe even 3 years, we were getting wins, but not at the rate that I would like to see. And then it's probably just within the last 18 months it's completely taken off. So I think there were some important shifts that had to happen, and we had to work through that. It doesn't have to take that long, it's just working through some of those internal conflicts.
Hey, Josh. What would you say was the final, I guess, nail in the coffin for you? I'm sure at first, like anybody, there's going to be some questions and concerns moving to a new platform. Was there one thing that came up when you said, this is definitely what's Snowflake?
I think it was more, again, it was getting everybody to realize that we didn't have a choice. If we were going to be competitive, we had to be able to get to the analysis piece. And there have been years of just old green screen queries and producing data and then trying to manipulate it. And you get in the data churn or analysis paralysis. And, it just became a point where we knew we had to be competitive. And we had support from a dollars perspective. I don't know if there was a point when it just was, we switched, but I think we got the backing and we just went full speed ahead. And at that point, it was a matter of getting everybody educated and trained on what would work.
Any other questions?